With school closures all over the world due to the coronavirus, teachers everywhere are trying to find ways to engage their students virtually. I wanted to put together a quick video with some tips and tricks for teachers so they can start to think like filmmakers. My name is Jeff Jantz. I run an after-school program, but I'm also an author and an illustrator. I've been making behind-the-scenes videos of my artwork for the last couple of years, and I thought that some of the things that I've learned may be helpful for teachers who are trying to make video to assist with virtual learning. This video is all things that you can do with your cell phone or tablet. In fact, this whole video was shot with just my phone. So I actually have a really nice camera that I use for my artwork. But when I'm making videos, it's so much easier to just use my phone. The great news is that most phones take really good video, and you can also use them to edit. I actually use my old phone even sometimes when I need a second camera. A video takes up more storage than just about anything on your phone, so make sure you're thinking about where all this video footage is going to go before you get started. Some phones have the option for a micro SD card like this, or maybe you'll have to upload to a cloud or the computer, or maybe you just have to free up some space and delete some things on your phone first. But make sure you have the storage space before you get started. I would also recommend going into your video camera app and cranking up all the settings to make sure that everything is set to the highest video quality. This is going to take up a little bit more storage space, but it'll be worth it in the end. Okay, the last and most important thing you want to keep in mind when you're using your phone or tablet to take video is keep it horizontal! You're going to be really frustrated later when you're trying to fit this in the screen properly during editing. Most teachers I know are planners. So when it comes to pre-production planning, you're already half the way there. You're making a lesson plan. So just take your lesson plan and turn it into a shot list. Now, I don't mean you have to completely rewrite it and turn it into a script, but just go back through your lesson plan, think about each step of your lesson plan, and figure out, how is this going to look? What is the shot that I need to take? You can also take multiple shots. And if you make a mistake and you stumble over your words, you can just cut to a different shot and no one will ever know. When you're taking a video, don't expect yourself to get it all right the first time. Do multiple takes, and then later you're going to edit and you can take the best part out of everything. It's actually easier than a regular lesson. Did you ever say something stupid in front of the class and wish you could back it up and reshoot it? Well, now you can. Video creates a great opportunity to show rather than tell. With that in mind, here's a couple examples of a way I can show you different abbreviations that you can use in your shot list. MS for medium shot. HS for head and shoulders. CU for close-up. XCU for extreme close-up. FS for full shot. WS for wide shot. Typically, a wide shot means you can see most of the space that a person or the object you're shooting is in. It may also be helpful to put notes in your lesson plans about camera direction. I'm going to use these two as stand-ins so I can get behind the camera and show you what I mean. You can use notes like zoom, but be aware if you zoom too much, things may get a little pixelated. Pan would be moving the camera from left to right on its axis. There's also a slide shot or a dolly shot. This is slightly different than panning. Tilt is just what you'd expect, tilting the camera up or down. You can also use abbreviations like HA for high angle or LA for low angle. I'll post a link below to some commonly used shot list abbreviations, but for now, let's talk accessories. Alright, so maybe not these kind of accessories. I'm talking about accessories like this. Nifty little tripods with flexible legs. These things are great because they're really versatile. You can wrap them around just about anything to help you get all kinds of really interesting and unique shots. I'm also talking about nifty little accessories like this. This is a great little handy deal. You can slide your cell phone in there, tighten it down, stick it to the top of the tripod, and it works great. Now you don't have to go out and break the bank buying new accessories and gear. I think I found this old tripod and a pile of junk in my mom's basement. These tablet adapter mounts are pretty cheap. You just slap one of those on there and boom, you're ready to go. All right, maybe you don't have any of those things and shipping is taking forever lately, so don't wait. Remember that time that you made a whole lesson out of pizza boxes, masking tape, and Cheerios? You can use that same ingenuity to rig up something to hold your camera. I used this painter stick, some rubber bands, masking tape, and styrofoam to make my very own selfie stick. Works great. I'll also post links to some of the gear that I talked about as well as some other things in the description below. But also check out B&H Photo. They're a great resource and they have actual live people there to answer your questions if you call. All right, here's just a couple of quick tips to help you get the composition just right. Placing tape marks is one really great way to help you figure out how to get your framing straight. Professional filmmakers have been using this trick for years. A mark, B mark, and C mark. But you don't have to write out the whole letter. You can just use one little piece. I almost always record a test shot to make sure that I don't have a whole bunch of extra room over my head or that I'm partially out of the shot. There's no big secret really to this. It's just a matter of taking the time to adjust your shot to make sure that you're framing the story that you want to tell. Wait. Shh. Do you hear that? Yes, that was the sound of my refrigerator. Capturing good audio can actually be one of the hardest things when it comes to making video because there's always things that you're not really thinking about that you hear all the time that we just tune out. But when you're making a video, you have to really tune in so that you can hear things like mechanical things that may be 2 rooms away. Or someone flushing the toilet down the hall. Or the cats that were napping when you first started recording. All these things can be really distracting to an audience when you're making a video. The general rule is, if you can't see it or it's not relevant to the story, you shouldn't hear it. Sometimes getting good audio can be tricky because there are things that may just be outside of your control, like your neighbor who seems to always want to cut the grass whenever you're trying to record something. Other considerations when you're making a video are the acoustics of the room. Listen to this clip from a couple of weeks ago when I was working on reducing the echo in this studio. Hey, Jeff Jantz here, back at Jantzer Studios with episode 3 of Set Design and Construction with Acoustic Panels. In that video, I built these acoustic panels that are hanging from the ceiling, and I also added these foam panels. That's helped absorb a ton of the echo in the studio. Now, I do realize not everyone is going to start building acoustic panels for their house, but there are a couple things that you can do to easily dampen down some of the echo that might be in your house, like throwing down some rugs, putting blankets over chairs, or even robbing couch cushions from other parts of the house and strategically placing them around the room. There are also cool little accessories like this little mini shotgun mic. Now most of this video was shot without it. I'm just going to shoot this next clip with it so you can hear the difference. This is being recorded with the shotgun mic. There may be a small difference. Shotgun mics are really helpful if you're further away from the camera or if you're shooting outdoors. And if you're shooting outdoors, you may also want to try a windsock. Have fun with your audio. It can be a really great storytelling tool, especially when you use things like sound effects. You can also use background music, like I did in this video. Every piece of music has different copyright specifics, so make sure you do your homework before you use a piece of music in a video that you plan to share publicly. There are plenty of free resources out there for music, but one of the best I've found is audionautics.com. Even with the free stuff, you have to be aware of the copyright restrictions. This one is really straightforward. I'll put a link in the description below. I'll talk more about background music and sound effects in the editing section of this video. Let's see, what was I going to talk about next? What was it? Oh yeah, lighting. When you're shooting video with a really nice lens, it's a little bit easier to get all that light into the camera. But when you're shooting with a smart device, you've got this little tiny pinhole for a lens. So you need to make sure that there's more than enough light to ensure that you get the video quality that you want. It's important to make sure that the lighting is coming from the right direction. Watch what happens when we turn the camera around so that the light is behind the camera. Much better, right? All right. In a studio setting, there are typically 3 types of lighting: your key light, your fill light, and an accent light. Let me show you. If you just use a key light or one main light source, you're going to get kind of a dramatic effect with lots of contrast. Deep shadows on one side and bright on the other side. That's fine if you're going for the dramatic effect. Then you add in your fill light. That bounces around the room, fills in the shadows a little bit, and evens things out. Now, it's not always necessary, but you can also add in an accent light, which is usually down on the floor or up above and sometimes referred to as a hair light. It just puts kind of a nice little accent or a highlight along the back edge to help make things pop from the background. So to show you what it would look like from behind the camera, you can see that the key light is just behind the camera and off to the side slightly. Generally, the fill light would be on the other side of the camera. I like to aim it towards the ceiling and let it bounce around the room. In the example I showed you, I just have the accent laying on the floor, pointing up. Okay, so most people don't have studio lighting at home, but you can use some of the lights that you already have around the house. Check out how I did this lighting setup. For my key light, I just used this clip light, which I clipped to a broomstick that was taped to a chair. I have a couple other lights on in the room for my fill light, but then I also grabbed this other utility light, put it on the step ladder, and threw a sheet over there just to soften the light up a little bit. And for my accent light, I just placed this little desk lamp on the floor. Don't let lighting stress you out. It may be that your room is lit pretty even and bright enough as it is. So just go with that if it works. Test it out, see how it goes. It may be that you just need to add in one extra key light and you're good to go. Just experiment a little and see what works. Okay, I'm only going to take a couple seconds to talk about Timelapse, but it can be a really great tool to show something that might take a long time, but might bore your audience if they were to sit through the whole thing. So I use it a lot in my sculpting videos, like this one. If your phone doesn't already have a time-lapse feature in it, you can download an app like this one. It's called FrameLapse Pro. The other really great thing about Timelapse is that it actually takes up less storage space on your device. But if you shot something at the regular pace and you want to speed it up, or maybe slow it down, you can do that during the editing process. Now, editing was the thing that I was the most intimidated about when I was starting to make videos on my own. But the good news is, it really wasn't that bad once I got into it. There's plenty of apps out there that make it really accessible and very intuitive. A couple that I've used are Action Director. This one is fairly easy to use. It's pretty straightforward for the most part. And it has some really great features if you want to speed things up and slow them down. So if you're doing a lot of time lapse, this one gives you even more options. But I actually don't use this app much anymore because I found that the options for audio were kind of limiting. InShot is another really great app. It's got a ton of options. In fact, it's the app that I'm using to edit this video. The tools for audio are fantastic, including the ability to record voiceover as you're editing, which is what I'm doing right now. It also comes with a ton of preloaded sound effects, which I've used in this video, and they're organized really well too. It's super easy to add in background music. You can use the music that's already in the app, or use music that you have on your phone already. You can even extract audio from your own video clips. Both apps have pretty sweet transitions you can play with, but I found them easier to use in InShot. One of my favorite YouTubers, who just so happens to also be a teacher, is Adam Krutinger. He has a whole tutorial about InShot. Check it out. Now, I use the paid upgrade of both of these apps, but I think the free one will get you a lot of good features. Keep in mind that editing takes a long time. Generally, a 5-minute video takes me anywhere from an hour to 5 hours of editing. But one thing you can do is edit a little bit as you go. That seems to help make it easier. That's what I did for this video. So another quick tip is that I found it a lot easier to edit when you're using a stylus instead of your finger. Have fun with your video. Try different angles and exciting things. Use transitions and sound effects and background music. Editing can actually be really fun once you get the hang of it. Once you're finished editing your video, you're going to have to render it. Some apps call this save, some call it export. No matter what they call it, just be aware that it takes a while. Sometimes it takes up to an hour, and you're really not supposed to use your phone for anything else during that time. Okay, so your video is rendered, it's set, it's crisp and clean, it's ready to go. Now it's time to share it. Uploading a video can also take a really long time, so make sure you get it started long before your class starts. Most people are already aware of all the sharing platforms out there like YouTube and Facebook, and now they have TikTok. So I don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about those things. I know you'll figure that out. The thing I really wanted to talk to you about sharing is watching yourself. Now, teachers tend to be perfectionists. We are also our own worst critic. So don't let watching yourself hold you back from sharing your video. Remember, people aren't going to notice your imperfections unless you point them out. Oh man, my hairline is really receding. Okay, so maybe if this is your first video, it's not perfect, but it's important because teachers are important. So share it, get out there, keep on teaching. Hey, if you found this video helpful, please share it with other teachers. And if you have tips or resources that you found helpful while making video for education, share those in the comments below. In the meantime, keep teaching and stay safe.